each other at times. And just a few days ago, Hurlie told me one that I didn't know about. And that was when he was driving a log truck and he got stopped for speeding and he used Frank's driver's license. It worked. Hurlie was a prankster, and I think that we've already kind of heard that. And you know, all of you that know Hurlie, what you do, you knew that he was a prankster. That was part of his life. I love people that can laugh at themselves and take pranks and give pranks, and that was her. Brad would want me to tell this. I never got any candy. There was candy actually brought to me. Nobody else got candy. I was a baby. But several times a year, I'd be given candy. But Hurlie and Frank, and if you don't know about Old Blind Mule, you don't understand this. But Hurlie and Frank would say, "Come and feed the Old Blind Mule." Now, I never saw an Old Blind Mule, but I had Old Blind Mule described many times. So Hurlie and Frank would say, "Give the Old Blind Mule candy. The Old Blind Mule is hungry." So being 5, 6, 7 years old, I felt sorry for the Old Blind Mule, even though I had never seen one. But they had me convinced that the Old Blind Mule deserved my candy. Well, the Old Blind Mule never basically got the candy. You know where the candy went. Mama was the disciplinarian at home. Hurlie was hard to discipline. Because I have been told and saw some of this at a very young age, that Mama would get the switch and Hurlie would get her laughing before she could switch it. Driving that old log truck out the lane from the house, which is about a quarter of a mile. In the wintertime, it was red clay, muddy. Sometimes they'd leave the truck out before he even came into the lane because it would get so wet and muddy you couldn't get the truck out in the wintertime. Excuse me. I would ride out sometimes in the truck with him to catch the school bus. When I was 5 or 6 years old. And I heard some words that I'd never heard before. But it stuck. And I asked Mama about some of those words. She never did give me a straight answer on the definition. But Hurlie stopped using those words. And it took me years and years before I figured out why he stopped using those words. One time I was probably 15 or 16, and we were going to California, just the two of us. And in somewhere around East Texas, he said, "Do you have a clean handkerchief?" I said, "Yes, I do." So he said, "Well, let me have it." So, being a big brother, being an obedient little brother, I let him have a clean handkerchief. Wasn't long, he found a rest stop. He stopped, he pulled his shoes and socks off, dried his feet with my handkerchief, gave me the handkerchief back. Dirty. As much as he was a prankster, as you all know, he was a very caring person. He got upset when Kroger started their checkout, self-checkout, whatever they call it, at the supermarket. He said, "That's keeping somebody from a job. Somebody losing their job." He had that mentality. He cared for people. And he chastised me for using the self-checkout. When I did, I wouldn't tell him. He was always the prankster, though. If I was out in the yard or somewhere around the house doing something, and he'd come, and we'd have a little visit, there was a way I could kind of get back at him. He was scared of snakes. And if he ever came around, and like in where there could be snakes, and he bothered me at all, I'd yell, "Snake!" And Hurlie would run as far as he could, and then he'd say, "Where?" One of the fun things I've had experience observing the last few years was Hurlie and Ruby bantering. I hear a lot of chuckles. And I was pretty good at instigating those. I knew, like, if you've never heard Hurlie and banter over how to make potato salad, you've missed some important things in life. And I think as I say that, Ruby frowned, but she thinks she still thinks she's right. A couple weeks ago, we were sitting around the table, and Hurlie, Ruby, and Winnie, my wife. And I was concerned about Hurlie, and I thought, he's not doing well. But right before we left, he did something that really did lift my spirits. Ruby was down on that side of the table, and Hurlie was on this side. I was over here, and Winnie was over here. And they got to bantering. I don't know that it was potato salad. It wouldn't make any difference. There were so many things they would banter about. But Hurlie had that little sly, sheepish smile on his face. And he said, "Like Judge Judy, I'll ask the question, and you answer the question." Hurlie told me a week or so ago, he said, "You'll live to be 130, talking to me." I said, "Why do you say that?" He said, "Well, Renee, that was one of his caregivers, all those people did a tremendous job. But he said, she told him, said, "Hurlie, you're going to live, as mean as you are, you're going to live to be 100. So Hurlie turned to me and he says, "I know if I'm going to live to be 100 because of meanness, you're going to live to be 130 because of meanness." What I have observed in these last few weeks is probably the greatest love story I've ever seen. Ruby holding her own hand by the bedside. And when she'd have to go for a moment, some other place, he would feel for her hand. And he'd look at